So Ava just asked me about nutritional science, and I'm going to share the answer with all of you as well. When we look at nutritional science, it is a reductionist science, which means that it tries to isolate something from a surrounding and test it, perhaps reproduce it, and assume that then the natural world, or perhaps our natural body, is going to understand it. But the issue really here is that when we isolate something, we have to see, okay, well, what did I isolate it from? Is the nutrition in an organic apple the same as in a non-organic apple? How about if the apple was picked too early? What variety of the apple is it? Because there are thousands of varieties. What soil was it grown in? Right? Who grew it? What was the energy of it? What cycle or what season was it grown in? And yet, somehow we just say, okay, all apples have this many grams of sugar, that many grams of whatever it is, this amount CU of vitamin A, etc., etc., etc. And so inherently, there is so much in nutritional science that is way too reductionist to be understood. Moreover, the whole idea of nutrition itself being reproduced in a laboratory and then having it understood by the human body is a tremendous assumption. So if we look at something like the whole vitamin movement from mid-last century, there's no real guarantee. I'm sure you've heard that vitamins themselves are expensive. Pee, urine. And so when we apply this now into the human body and we look and see, okay, well, when we eat that apple, regardless of which apple it is, how well did we chew it? What part of our autonomic nervous system was active when we were eating it? Were we stressed or were we relaxed? Because that's going to really factor into how it's digested. Right? What did that apple have a layer of shellac, which, mind you, is furniture polish, wood polish? Right? That's what they put on a lot of apples, like the Washington apples, which are heavily subsidized by the U.S. government. They put it on there to keep it shiny and protected and perhaps ripe for longer. Well, that doesn't wash off with your normal rinse of your apple. So when you're eating that, how is that going to affect digestion? Right? That apple itself, what did you eat it with? If you've eaten it with something else, perhaps the sugars are going to digest too fast and actually ferment in the stomach, causing little burps or bloating. Yeah. Whereas if you ate it alone, it would have digested differently, for example. And you can look up food combining on my podcast series if you want to hear more about that. But from there, of course, I said, how well did we chew it? Did we get stressed 2 hours afterwards or a half hour afterwards? What is the permeability of our intestines? Or how are the cilia, the ability to absorb from our small intestine, the villi? Right? We start to see that the human body itself is going to impact how something is digested or not. Right? Was it eliminated? How well was it eliminated? When was it eliminated? How long after? Was it a hydrated human body? Etc., etc., etc. And so when I say that nutritional science is at best unhelpful, it's because there's such a bigger picture of understanding here that we can embrace. Oh.